first we will be looking at different types of visuals, because we not only have graphs, we can also have charts, for example. So we will be checking both, okay? And then I will be giving you different ways in which you can describe these visuals. One of these ways, and probably the one in which we will concentrate a little bit more, is how to use different verbs in order to describe these visuals. But we will also analyze other different alternatives, not only verbs, but also some other alternatives. And finally, at the end, there will be some kind of consolidation exercise in which you can use what we checked during the session in order to describe or to write some sentences related to graphs, okay? So without further ado, let's start with the first part. So here's the question: which graphs or charts do you know? Please, could you put in the chat very quickly which graphs or charts do you know? Probably the most popular is the pie chart, right? So probably this is the one that people are more familiarized with. So any other types of charts that you know apart from the pie chart? Bars, that's Christian. Thank you, Christian. Yes. Any other that you know? Columns, says Vicky. Yes, columns as well. Okay. Linear, okay. Lined. So we have different graphs and charts. So here, let's just let me just show you the most common that we have. Okay. So obviously we have bar charts that somebody said in there. I think it was Christian Emmanuel. Then we have this one that is called donut charts. Okay, similar to the pie, but as you can see in the center, there is this kind of hole that makes it look like a donut. Then we have pyramid charts, also very useful. And when this pyramid, let's say, is inverted, we call them funnel charts. Okay, so all the information flows into one direction. Then we have these ones, which is probably what also Vicky was referring to, which is a stack bar charts. So every bar has like different components to show the progress of some information. Gerardo, excellent, thank you. And then the traditional, or as I said, the most popular pie chart, okay? There might be some others, but these are the ones which are most common, right? Then in the terms of graphs, we have line graph that somebody said, okay? And then we have also this one, a stack lined graph, which is another variation, okay? So these are the ones that I have encountered more or more commonly, and we will be describing most of them. Now, every single kind of visual or every single kind of graph or chart has a different purpose, okay? So the first one, this one, pie charts. What do you think that we use pie charts for, okay? So basically, pie charts are used to compare percentages of the same kind of information. So you have, for example, a number of sales, or you have what some people call the market share, and then you want to break it down or break it into small parts, and then to assign a specific percentage to every single of those portions of the pie or those sections of the pie. So pie charts compare percentages of a whole piece of data. Then we have line graphs. In this case, they show specific trends. The special or the particular part is that normally they will reflect information over or in a timeline. So if you can check, for example, at the very bottom, you have 94, 96. So these are years. So normally this will show the performance or the development or something over a period of time. Okay. And then we have the bar charts that normally illustrate comparisons in trends. So in this case, if you check the chart, it says services, agriculture, industry, and then how the percentage of the world workforce changes from one sector to the other. So these are very useful when you want to draw, for example, when you want to make comparisons between departments in a company, for example, or sometimes competitors, okay, in a way. So these are the ones that we will be concentrating on today. Now, I'm going to move on. And based on this, I suggest that, I don't know if you can take a screenshot or something, because I'm going to use, or you're going to use this information. Remember, pie charts compare percentages, line graphs describe information over a period of time, and bar charts illustrate comparisons, okay? Keeping this in mind, I want you to match these sentences, okay? So I want you to match a number with a letter. For example, the first one, bar charts, remember bar charts describe or give us what comparisons? So which might be the most natural complement for number one? Could it be A, B, or C? What do you say? According to these bar charts, remember, I'm going to go back a little bit. So illustrate comparisons in trends. So which one? Magnolia says B. Okay. 1C. So 1B. Okay. So the first one is B. It says the number of graduates who work in IT in different countries of the world. So that part, different countries in the world, is like making this comparison between something that is similar. All of them talk about number of graduates, but in different countries of the world. So this comparison between trends, okay? So I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to do the same for number 2 and number 3. Please read number 2, read number 3, and tell me which one corresponds to which. Number 2 might be A or C. Okay, lots of answers. 3A, 3A, 2C, 2C. Okay. Yeah, remember the line graph, lines or this kind of graph produces information over a period of time. So based on that, we will have it that it's letter C, okay? Because it's between 1990 and 2005. And obviously, the pie chart produces information that is normally connected to percentages, okay? So this is the way that the sentences, okay, will look now that they are completed. So now, we're going to be building up, let's say, I'm going to give you some vocabulary first and then some more practice until finally you can describe some elements of a graph, okay? In the next one, in the next part, I'm going to give you different ways in which you can describe these visuals or these graphs and charts. So the first one is using verbs. Probably this is the most common, the one that normally students are taught. And this is the way it looks, right? So we have demand for iPhones has rocketed, are falling, improve, decrease, go up. So one way to describe visuals is to use, if not specific verbs, particular verbs that are normally associated with this business context, okay? Another way it's using prepositions. Although we may also have some verbs, for example, have gone up or rose, etc. Here, the main focus is on the prepositions from 19.6 million to 27.4 million. Sales rose by 20%, a decrease of 16.4%, okay? So that's another way. And there are some other expressions, I call it this way to have some kind of category, but basically it's using adverbs, which is also very common, for example, dramatically, drastically, gradually, etc., or to use a combination of an adjective with a noun, which is the second case. Check. There was a steady rise in the number of purchases this week, for example. So these are other phrases that I will show you later. So basically, these are the three different ways in which you can describe a graph using verbs, concentrating on the prepositions that indicate some kind of change, or using some alternative expressions, okay? Now, let's move on. And let's start with describing graphs with verbs. So what I'm gonna do now, you can see there are 11 different pictures that contain these simple graphs, okay? So what I want you to do is, again, to take, I'm gonna give you now 2 or 3 minutes for you to match these pictures, these images, to some verbs that I have for you, okay? So take your time, don't answer immediately, take your time, and then if you can put in the chat like 3, 4, 5 answers in a block or together, that would be perfect, okay? So these are the verbs. These are the verbs that you need to match with the graphs, okay? So for example, the first one, what do you think is the first one? Number 1 might be, which one? Which verb? Just tell me in the chat which one. The picture number 1, the verb might be, read the list and tell me which one do you think is represented in number 1. Rebecca says drop. Ana Maria says drop. Everybody says drop. Okay, fantastic. That's what you need to do. Okay, so take 2 or 3 minutes, try to match them, and then we will check together. Okay, please, just 2 or 3 minutes for you to match as many as you can. Obviously, if there is one word or one verb that you don't know, it's okay. Skip it. In a moment, I will clarify the meaning of those verbs. Okay, so right now, just the ones that you know. If you say, I don't know what level of might be, that's fine. Okay, no problem. Mhm. 1 more minute. Remember, just type 2, 3, 4 answers together, okay? Take some time to look at the pictures carefully. Okay, so whenever you're ready, please start typing in the chat your answers, okay? If you have like 3, 4 answers, it's 3 to fluctuate, 4 to increase, to have. Okay, 2 is 4, 3 is 9, fantastic. Good, excellent. Thank you very much. Lots of answers in the chat. I really like the interaction. Number 6, to level up. Okay. Okay. To plummet, to peak. Good. Thank you. Thank you very much for the interaction. Okay. So now I'm going to show you the answers. And normally in a real class, I mean, face to face, I would now ask you questions like, what do you think this represents, etc. But obviously, due to the constraints of not being able to interact that much, I will show the answer and I will briefly explain the difference between those that might be new to you, or probably you don't know that well. Okay. So the first one, as everybody said, is to drop. To drop is a synonym for go down, let's say. So normally in this case, as you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. Sales are dropping or going down. This is not positive, okay? The second, as you can see, is to double, okay? The number is there, so you go from 2 to 4, it's to double. Number 3, to fluctuate. In this case, you can be that this one is jumping, right? Like going up and down. So that is fluctuation, to fluctuate. Number 4, the opposite of number 1, basically to increase, to go up, for example. Then number 5, if is the opposite of number 2. So this one was to double, number 2. Number 5 is to halve. So basically to be reduced by 50%. Then we have number 6, which is to level off. Here the difference between to fluctuate and level off, okay? Level off, there is a moment in which it was not good. As you can see, it was fluctuating, but then it starts to recover and basically to stabilize. That's what is level off, meaning like stabilizing. So yes, it was a little bit, there was a little bit of fluctuation, probably positive or negative, although it's always negative when something is fluctuating. And then you can see at the end, you can see this moment when now it's stabilizing, okay? So that is the meaning of to level off. Then we have this one, which is to peak, which is basically to reach a maximum point in a year or in a month, in a quarter, etc. So this is the highest moment, let's say, that something has, in this case, sales or complaints, depending what you're showing in the graph. This is the highest point. Then we have this one, which is like number 1, but as you can see, that those arrows that we have in there indicate that it's extreme. The drop is now extreme. So basically, this is to plummet. So to plummet is to drop dramatically or drastically. Okay, so normally overnight, or what we call from one day to the other, let's say. That is basically what this one means. Then the next one is number 9 is to recover. It was going down, but then it starts to recover. Similar to this, I'm gonna write in the chat, could be to bottom out, that we'll check in a moment. Just the difference is that bottom out implies, or as you can read, it's implicit that you touch the lowest part of something, okay? And then you start to recover. But first you need to touch rock bottom, which is like the lowest part, and then you start to recover. In number 9, not necessarily. That's what is recover, because you don't need to touch the lowest part, just there was some kind of drop, and then you start recovering. Then number 10, to rocket. This one, we might say that might be the opposite of number 8. If plummet was to go down dramatically, to rocket will be to go up dramatically, okay? And the last one, from 2 to 6, obviously 2 to triple. I don't know if you can help me here, Junwen, or please with a screenshot so that it can be there and people can download this vocabulary.
Sure, Gil.
Thank you. Thank you. So now I'm going to move up. These are the verbs that we use typically, right? But let me give you some extra alternatives to these verbs. So in this case, I have some of the verbs that we checked in the previous slide and some others that were not there. For example, here we have plunge, here we have decline, here we have gained. So what I want you to do right now is to categorize the verbs that you have in the box into the different categories that we have in the table below. So basically, which verbs represent a positive tendency, okay? Let's say that it means going up, and which verbs, okay, have a negative tendency, which is falling, and which ones imply that the numbers, the statistics stay the same, basically no variation, which ones imply changing frequently, and which one is the one that is to refer to a peak, okay? So think about it, and then in a moment, okay, I will show you, okay, or I will ask you to help me with these ones, okay? So read the verbs, try to put them in a particular column or categorize them in a particular column, and in a moment we will check together, okay?
Gil, we have a question by Ana Maria, and then she asks, is treble a synonym of triple?
No, well, not that I'm aware of, to be quite honest, Ana Maria. I never seen that treble is used in this context to mean the same as triple. But if you want, I can verify it. But to be quite honest, I've never seen that somebody use treble to describe graphs meaning triple. But sure, I can check, and then before the session ends, I can give you an answer. Thank you, Junan. There are some other verbs now, but now with this question, some other verbs that might mean that might have a similar connotation or similar meaning. But as I said, or when I started this, there are some verbs that are normally used or traditionally used. Obviously, metaphorically speaking, we can also use other words, okay, that have the intention of going up or going down, but metaphorically speaking, but not normally. For example, I don't know, skyrocketed could be another, right? Or these metaphors that we can use. That might be for another session. There are some idiomatic expressions that are also used, okay, when describing graphs. So probably there, Ana Maria. Then let's start with rise. Which are the ones that imply rising or going up? So these are the ones, okay? For rising, we have go up, grow, gain, rocket, or soar. Particularly in that order. Let's say that go up, grow, and gain are kind of neutral in the sense, I mean, it's like this, like go up, grow, gain. Rocket and soar, it's drastic, dramatic. Okay, so the last two is imagine that you have like extremely or drastically go up or significantly, but normally drastically or dramatically. So rocket and soar imply that one, okay? Then fall, these are the ones. And the same with the previous column. The last two, plummet and plunge, imply a drastic or dramatic decrease or drop, let's say. So when the sales plummeted, that is not good, okay? Or if sales plunged, that is not positive. It means that you are losing a lot of money, okay? So stay the same, somebody wrote in there. Yes, level off, which is stabilize, or plateau. Normally with the verb that we'll check in a moment, reach. Normally you reach a plateau or it plateaus, okay? Which is to have this moment in which nothing changes or nothing seems to change. Then to change frequently, to fluctuate, and obviously to reach, or I'm going to put it in the chat, could be to reach or also to hit a peak as well. So reach a peak or hit a peak. So these are the verbs that, or other verbs that we can also use to describe tendencies in a graph. I don't know if you can also, yeah, steady, yes, but in this case, Christian, we're only talking about verbs, and steady is an adjective. But yes, normally steady, gradually, regular, they indicate staying the same. But in this case, we're only talking about verbs. But yes, totally, steady, regularly, gradual might imply staying the same. I don't know if you want to take a screenshot before I move on. Okay, here we go. Now, let's practice a little bit, okay? In the previous slides, or in the first one with the pictures, there were just this very small arrow indicating one change. Now I give you some verbs. Now we have lines which are, let's say, bigger or longer. For example, the first one, you have A, B, and C. So in this line, in the first one with A, B, and C, we have three different moments, okay? We have three different moments that we can describe. So what I want you to do is to match the letters that are shown here in this picture, A, B, C, D, E, until I, with these verbs, okay? So you cannot repeat verbs and you can use each verb only once, okay? So you cannot use verbs more than once and you cannot repeat them. So for example, the first one, tell me what's happening in letter A. In letter A, which is the tendency or which might be the verb? Okay, to fall, to fall. And you are correct. Letter A is to fall. Yes, go down as well, but we don't have go down here in the list. It's just from the list, okay? But go down, yes, totally. So let's describe the first line together, A, B, and C, and then I will give you some time to do the same for the others, okay? So in the first moment, in the first line, in the first moment, the tendency is falling or it's going down, as somebody said. Letter B describes, check, it comes from, check letter B. No, because bottom might imply touching the lowest part. So not bottom out, not that one really, or not yet. Yes, to reach a plateau or to remain flat, basically not moving. If you check from that segment with B and the previous segment, it's basically, or it has basically not changed, no variation, okay? And letter C, it's what? Letter C is this one that you mean it's bottom out in this case, because compared to the line, now it is recovering, okay? So please, I want you to do the same with the other letters and the other numbers. Whenever you identify one moment, please put it in the chat. Just give me the number and the letter. Just tell me, first the letter, sorry, letter D, it's number 3, or letter D is number 7. And then at the end, I will explain again, because there are some new verbs in here that we have not checked yet, okay? But try to identify the ones that you can. Okay, put it there, D3, D5, okay, E6. So basically here, the new verbs, it's to dip, number 7. Dip, I don't know if you remember, probably when you are watching sports and then you have some kind of, what we used to call in Spanish, some kind of botana, right? And then you have a dipper. Dipper is normally some kind of sauce, might be guacamole, for example, and then you introduce whatever you are eating there very quickly and take it out. That is dip. That's what is called dipper or dipping. So in this case, using that metaphor, when sales dip, for example, they go down, but very quickly recover, let's say. So that might be the moment. I think that's the only one that we haven't checked. Well, remember, plunge is to go down dramatically. To soar is to go up dramatically. To rise in this case, but gradually. That's what because it's not just rising, it's gradually. To fluctuate, to dip, to reach a peak, okay? So good, most of you already have the answer. So the next one, letter D, is to soar. If you check, it's going up, but a very marked tendency. Then letter E, to fluctuate, okay? That's the moment. As you can see, it's going up and down. Letter F is to dip. As you can see, it goes down, but it recovers immediately. Then letter G, to reach a peak only in that line, not considering the others. That is the highest moment that you can reach. And then This is normally people associate that reaching a peak is positive, and in a way, yes, because it means that you are selling a lot. But it might also be negative because when you can only reach the peak at one moment, let's say, and automatically you start going down. So it's like, well, yes, we peak in there or we reach a peak, but then we need to go down. Then letter H is to rise gradually, little by little, we can say, and to plunge is letter I. Excellent. I think that most of you got the answers correct. I don't know if you can also help me here, Yulen, with another screenshot so that they can take it away. And now let's practice a little bit, okay? So here I have two very simple graphs that I created. I'm gonna give you a sentence and I want you to tell me that sentence is describing which one or two, okay? So this is the sentence. It says profits in the company rose steadily from 1995 to 2010 and then gradually fell ever since. So this one is referring to number one or to number two? Which one? Number two. Okay, number two. Yes, totally, because we have the moments, right? 1995, it says that it rose steadily, or as somebody said, regularly. It was growing or going up until 2010, and from there, it's only going down, okay? Fantastic. Now, what I want you to do here now is to select one of these two graphs, number 3 or number 4, and I want you to write a sentence that describes that one, okay? Select only one, select 3 or 4, the one you prefer, and in the chat, give me a sentence that describes that one. If it's number 3, the one you selected, if it's number 4, please write a sentence. Take some time and write a sentence to describe graph number 3 or graph number 4, please. Obviously, you can invent. You can say that this is car sales or sales of computers. Invent the information that you need. What I'm interested in is obviously the verbs, or if you're using an adjective or an adverb like steadily, etc. That's what I'm interested in, okay? So choose one, number 3 or number 4, and write a sentence that describes that graph, please. Okay. Magnolia says population peak on 2005, afterwards showing a drop due to birth control. Fantastic. Sales were dropping in 2005. After that, the recovery started. Fantastic. Sales as from 1995 had been fluctuating up to now. Good. Car sellings went down. Remember, 2005 passed. So that is one of the things that sometimes you need to be careful with the conjugation of verbs, okay? So far, we had been checking it more like in present, but remember that they should be conjugated correctly. So the students' attendance fell in 2005 and raised by 2022. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much for this very nice interaction, okay? So I'm going to be reading the end of your sentences and probably replying to them. Sales plunge in 2005, yes, and then they rose up. Okay, remember rise, rose in past. Fantastic. Now, this is how to describe graphs normally with verbs. But I told at the beginning that normally also we use prepositions. So in this case, I want you to take 1 minute to look at this graph, okay? Analyze this graph, familiarize. Normally, when we examine a graph, what we need to know is we need to get familiarized with the two axes. So in one, you have thousands, so 50, 60, 7,000. And then you have years, which is every 2 years, right? The time span is every 2 years, 2000, 2002, 4, and 6, okay? And this one refers to the number of people employed in education, health, and social services, okay? So the thousands refer to thousands of people who worked in education, health, or social services between 2000 and 2006. So, and check, typically the graph is positive, let's say, because they were hiring more people or more people got employed in here. Now, using these 7 prepositions that you have in here, I want you to complete this text, okay? So this is a paragraph, okay, or a couple of paragraphs that describe the graph that you have on the right, okay? So check a graph, read the description, and only complete using the prepositions, okay? Please. So which one do you think is the first one? There was a general increase. Which is the preposition that we normally use with the verb increase? From the ones in the box, we say increase. Do we say increase from, do you think? Increase of? Yes. So the first one is, there was a general increase in the number of people. Okay, so normally for you to know also these dependent prepositions, increase in the number of people employed in education, health, social services. Between 2000 and 2001, the numbers rose. But there was 70,000, but there was a slight drop the following year. So number 2 and number 3, somebody says, yeah, I think that most of you got it correct. Number 2 is 2. The numbers rose 2 or up to this point or up to this number, but there was a slight drop. Number 3, which one do you think that one is? Number 3, slight drop. Good, Elizabeth, thank you. Slight drop of 5,000 in the following year. Then numbers rose again in 2003. Number 4, the numbers rose again in 2003. Again, up to this point, meaning to 78,000. In 2004, the workforce increased 5,000 and then dropped slightly. So the workforce increased. Rebecca, thank you. Thank you, Ana Maria. The workforce increased by 5,000 and then dropped slightly. Christian, yes, good. Number 6, dropped slightly. Rebecca again. It's 2, but no, because it's, check, we have now the combination. It dropped from this number to this number. So we have from 2, okay, from 83,000 to 8,000. So normally remember from this point to this point. That's normally what we have, okay? Good, excellent. So as you can see, in this case, we're also using a lot of the verbs that we checked before. We have increased, we have dropped, we have rose, okay? But now the focus is more on the prepositions, okay? And then check the last part. That's what I was saying, that there are other expressions like this figure, the last line, this figure remain almost the same. So basically what? Show no fluctuations or was stable or level of. So there are always alternative ways to describe graphs, okay? Then in the last part, this is the last part, describing graphs with other expressions. So I have in here 5 sentences in which I have highlighted some expressions that I want you to work with, okay? So you have 7 in 10, 25%, 9 out of 10, 64%, and almost half of, okay? So now what I want you to do is to replace these phrases that are highlighted with one of the expressions that you have in the box. For example, the first one, 7 in 10 corresponds to which one? Every 7 or 7 in every 10 is the same as. This should be total synonyms or very close synonyms. Yes, Gerardo, Rebecca, Victoria, Sally, Ilda, all of you are correct. Yes, 70% of students live in university accommodation. Okay, so this is also another way. So 7 in 10 or 70%. Then 25%, 25% is, yes, correct, a quarter, okay, quarter of arts graduates, fantastic. 9 out of 10, similar to the first one. 9 out of 10, totally 90%, Priscilla, thank you. Then 64% is a little bit different. So 64% of jobs in the textile industry, 64% might be what? Nearly 2/3 off, okay? So, because remember, normally if you divide 100 into thirds, you have 3/3 of 33.33. So 2/3 is basically 66.66. This is 64. It's very close to the 2/3, okay? And obviously the last one, almost half of the office workers, almost half might be 40%, okay? 47%, which is almost half, meaning almost 50%. So these are other phrases that you can also use to describe statistics or to describe graphs or information from tables, etc. Okay. I don't know if you help me with a screenshot, Junon, please. Then sometimes when we are describing graphs, etc., one way to avoid repetition, for example, we have checked these verbs, right? It rose, fell, increased, dropped, decreased, grew, declined, okay? All of them regular verbs, or well, except the first two, but most of them are regular verbs. And then here the emphasis is with the adverbs. You have dramatically, substantially, considerably, slightly, sharply. So all of them, okay, imply kind of important change, let's say. So except for the last one, that is steadily, all the others, sharply, noticeably, considerably, substantially, dramatically, they mean like an important change. But well, the idea in this slide is to have some kind of variation. So going from verb plus adverb, changing the same words, let's say, but now adjective to noun. Let me show you. So it goes from rose dramatically to a dramatic rise, okay? So let's do the second together. From fell substantially, so which is the adverb from substantially? So, and then the noun from fell would be a substantial fall, okay? So I will give you some seconds, like 20 seconds to read them and to try to think. So how you can convert, let's say, this verb plus adverb into adjective plus noun, okay? I'm reading you. Thank you, Gerardo. Thank you very much. Elizabeth, thank you. So if you want to start writing also your answers in the chat, fantastic. If you just want to read them, think about them, fantastic. Rebecca, thank you. So yes, the third one would be this, considerable increase. Then number 4 would be slight drop. Number 5 will be a noticeable decrease. A sharp, remember growth, okay? Remember that one is one that is tricky, is growth, okay? And the last one is a steady decline, okay? So this is sometimes also what we do. You might be not, but by paraphrasing in this way, you are adding variety to the way you describe graphs. So that is not always like the verb and the adverb, can also be with the adjective and the noun. I don't know if you can help me, Yunan, with a screenshot, please. And we are about to finish. This is the last one, the last slide. What I want you to do in here is look at this graph that has a year. You have from January to December, and then you have the sales in multiples of 500. Okay. So what I want you to do in here is to look at the numbers and then look at the months and then decide which moment or which section of this line you would like to describe. These are some of the verbs or some of the expressions that we have been using. So you can use these or others. I don't want you to describe the whole line or the complete graph. What I want you to do is one moment, maybe from April to July, tell me what happened there. Or from January to April, tell me what happened there. Or maybe July, September, or September, December. So select one moment, let's say, in the line or in the graph, and please in the chat, write your sentence, okay? So take some time, analyze it, and then choose one moment for, that you would describe, okay, please. I think those are the four main moments, right? January, April, April, July, July, September, September, December. Those are like the four moments that you can describe. Elizabeth says, after September, sales went up gradually. Good, yes. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, after September, yes, they went up gradually. From July to August, sales reached a peak. Yes, totally. Just remember that months normally with capital letters, okay? Excellent. Thank you, Karen. Then Rebecca says sales grew steadily from April to July and then rocketed, reaching a top. Remember, reaching a peak normally would also be, okay? Then July sales increased steadily in August, rocketed, reaching a peak. Then there was a plummeted. No, then they plummeted, okay? And plummeted drastically, it's kind of redundancy because plummet already means like drastically. So just, and then they plummeted, okay? So thank you very much. If you continue writing, I will be reading and giving you some feedback in there if I can, okay? So thank you very much. I hope that this one was useful, okay? That you found it interesting and that probably this can help you, let's say, express better at work, or academic English as well is also relevant in that context, okay? Thank you, Yunan.